I had always believed my marriage to Jessica was strong. We had been together for over a decade, shared a home, and raised a child together. From the outside, everything seemed perfect. But over the past months, subtle signs began to unsettle me. Late nights, secretive phone calls, and unexplained absences. I tried to dismiss it as work stress or fatigue, but deep down, I feared the worst. One evening, my worst fears were confirmed. I caught Jessica cheating. The shock hit me like a freight train. The woman I had trusted, loved, and built a life with was betraying me right under my roof. For a moment, I froze, unsure how to respond. But then a cold, precise clarity took over. I knew that the affair partner would face consequences, and I was going to ensure he got a shocking surprise he would never forget. I started by documenting everything. Messages, emails, and photos were collected meticulously. Every detail mattered: the dates, the planning, the audacity of their deceit. I knew I needed irrefutable proof to protect myself legally and socially, but also to use strategically. Once I had the evidence, I devised my revenge. First, I focused on her lover. I arranged a private meeting under a pretense, letting him think he was in control. Then, I presented the evidence: messages, photos, and recordings that proved his betrayal. The look on his face was priceless: shock, disbelief, and panic all at once. He had assumed he could manipulate and enjoy this affair without consequence. He was very wrong. Next, I filed for divorce. Custody arrangements for our child were prioritized to ensure stability and emotional security. Financial settlements were calculated not just according to legal obligations, but also considering the emotional impact of Jessica's betrayal. She had gambled with trust, family, and loyalty, and she lost completely. But legal action alone wasn't enough. I ghosted Jessica entirely. I moved out with our child, stopped answering her calls and messages, and removed her influence entirely from my life. By disappearing, I reclaimed control and dignity, leaving her to face the consequences of her choices alone. The absence itself became punishment. She had no chance to manipulate or plead her way back into my life. In the weeks that followed, I focused on rebuilding stability and normalcy for myself and my child. Routine, emotional security, and support from trusted friends became my priorities. Jessica, meanwhile, faced the consequences of her audacity. Her credibility, reputation, and influence over my life were gone. Her affair partner's shocking exposure amplified the fallout, leaving both of them isolated and accountable for their choices. Reflecting on the ordeal, I realized that true revenge is not about shouting matches, public humiliation, or dramatic confrontations. It's about strategy, timing, and reclaiming control. By documenting the affair, confronting her lover with evidence, filing for divorce, and disappearing from Jessica's life completely, I ensured that the consequences were swift, undeniable, and permanent. Jessica had assumed she could cheat without repercussions, and her lover had assumed he could act with impunity. They were both wrong. Their choices reshaped our lives, and through careful, deliberate action, I reclaimed dignity, control, and the ability to rebuild a future free from deception. In the end, this story is one of betrayal, calculated revenge, and accountability. A cheating wife and her audacious lover believed they could act without consequence, but evidence, legal action, and strategic exposure ensured justice. Jessica and her lover gambled with trust and lost. The lesson was clear: betrayal has consequences, and some actions cannot be forgiven or forgotten.